Prometheus was very pleased with man, but felt that there was a great deal left to be desired in his creation. Prometheus realized man would not know how to take advantage of his upright posture. What man needed, he saw, was to have the chance to develop his mind. They already had many different skills given by the gods, but not enough to satisfy Prometheus, so he decided to give man the divine gift of fire. At first, Zeus did not seem to object to this idea, but trouble came when Prometheus played a joke on Zeus. It began one day when the gods were gathered together to decide which portions of the sacrificial bull should be offered to them as a gift. Since he was the most clever god, Prometheus was asked to make the decision.
Well, give me an hour or two and I'll have an answer for you.
So while the gods went off for a noontime nap, Prometheus took a bull, killed it, dismembered it, and flayed its hide. Then he made 2 bags from the hide. Into one of the bags he stuffed all the flesh of the bull, and on top of the flesh, at the mouth of the bag, he stuffed the bull's stomach, which is the least tempting part of the animal. And into the other bag, he first put the bones, and then, on the top, at the mouth of the bag, he placed the animal's juicy fat. When the gods returned in the early afternoon, they saw the 2 bags placed on a large flat stone.
Now, I've decided that the best way to resolve the argument is to let Zeus be guided by what he sees. Let the father of the gods and men choose which of these 2 bags he most would like. Whatever the bag contains shall hereafter be the portion of sacrifice given to the gods. Zeus was pleased at the idea and quickly stepped up to inspect the bags. Of course, he let his greedy eyes be his guide, and chose the bag whose mouth was stuffed with a fragrant fat. And the rest of the contents of the bag had been dumped on the ground, however. He saw only a pile of dry bones. Zeus knew he had been tricked. He was furious.
Very well, Prometheus. You want to make me look like a fool before the other gods, do you? Well, you'll be sorry you did. You want to give mankind the gift of fire, but now you can't. I won't allow it. Let men eat their flesh raw, just as they always have. But Prometheus was a very persistent god. After a few days later, when he thought that perhaps Zeus would not be looking, he got Athene to let him steal at the night into the fire chamber of Olympus by the back door. There, he stole fire from Apollo's chariot after a day's work. He put it into a hollow stalk of a giant fennel that he brought with him to keep it from glowing, but also to hide its light. Then he quickly stole out of the chamber and came down to earth, where men were sleeping. Quietly, he gathered together some dry leaves and twigs and put his live fire coal in amongst them, and soon he had a fire going. At last, he stepped behind a large oak tree to watch what would happen. As it grew light, the men who dwelled near the grove got up from their beds of the fern to begin the task of the day. Soon, news of the strange new spirit, bright as the sun, hot like the sun, so hot that it devoured logs and branches with noisy greed, spread throughout the region. Men came and gathered around the place, gazing in wonder and awe. Soon the bolder ones moved near to the fire, but it was so hot that they quickly retreated. Prometheus watched for a while, delighted with his exploit, but it soon became clear that he would have to instruct the men on how to treat this new plaything, so that it remained in control. It would not do for fire to become their master instead of their servant, so he stepped out from behind the oak tree and called the men to him.
This is a gift that I bring to you from Olympus, mortals. It is called fire, and is stolen from the sun. But it's a dangerous gift, and you must learn to treat it well. It is greedy for wood, and needs to be fed constantly, but if you feed it too much, it will rage out of control and kill you. If ever it does get out of control, you can subdue it with one only thing: water. Treat it with respect, and it will be the key to much happiness.
At first, the men were afraid of what Prometheus told them. Stolen from the sun, brought down from Olympus, surely it was death to meddle with such a thing. But Prometheus, meanwhile, had taken up the raw haunches of a deer that lay close by. Spitting them onto a sharp stick, he held them over the fire, and soon the tempting smell of roast venison brought the men hungrily to the fire's edge. In no time at all, they were gulping down the delicious hot morsels greedily. Then, Prometheus later showed them how to make torches and how to smelt metal from the ore in the rocks. All in all, he thought that surveying the men as they happily and busily went about practicing their new skills was a good day's work. But that night, Zeus happened to look down from Olympus onto the face of the earth, and there he saw something that his eyes could hardly believe. All over the landscape, he spotted the glow of fire. It was not hard for Zeus to guess who had been responsible for this. Only one god would have all the gut to defy his command.
Prometheus! Where is Prometheus? Let him come here at once. If he won't come, bring him by force.
But Prometheus was already nearby. He knew that there would be trouble, but he approached the cloud-gatherer's throne boldly. Zeus frowned blackly on him.
What have you done, fool? You knew my command. Man was not to have the gift of fire. No god can defy my power and get away with it.
Father of the gods and men, I won't say that I did obey your command, but surely it seems to me that you would take pity on the race of men. See how much happier they are now that they have fire.
Maybe they are, and maybe they aren't. Now that they have that gift, there's no telling what they'll do. Soon they'll be so proud of their accomplishments that think they are as great as the gods. Who knows? They might even try to storm Olympus itself.
Whatever they do, they can never be as powerful as you. You can always destroy them if you want to.
I'm not going to wait that long. I'm going to consume them all now, once and for all, in the hugest fire you ever saw. On the other hand, though, I think I'll have myself some sport. What you say is true. I can always destroy them if they storm heaven. In the meantime, I think I'll watch them with their new plaything. I'm not so sure it will bring them only happiness. Soon, mark my words, they'll be at war in those chariots, killing one another with those swords and spears. Maybe they'll do the job for me. But you will be punished for your disobedience.
So the king of Olympus called two gods, Power and Violence, to serve as guards of Prometheus. Then he turned to Hephaestus, the lame blacksmith of heaven.
Hephaestus, you go along with Prometheus and his guards. They're taking him to the rocky slopes of Caucasus. When you get there, I want you to forge the strongest iron fetters you can fashion and chain this criminal to the rocks with them. There he will stay forever to bear the scorching heat of the sun by day and the bitter cold at night. And I will send an eagle to nest nearby. Each day it will swoop down and tear the prisoner's liver out, piece by piece. And each night the liver will repair itself, ready to make a meal for the bird the next day. And so it was done. There Prometheus remained in torture for many and many a year. Each day the bird would swoop down and take his liver.
Oh no! Ooh, ouch! Ooh, that's my liver. Oh no, that hurts really bad! Oh no!
He would have been there still, except that Zeus finally relented and
Oh.
allowed one of the heroes to rescue him. The hero's name was Heracles, but that is another story.